take a look at this particular question from 2023. Again, a very simple question. All that you really need to do is to understand the overall theme and look for continuity. It says, a study of social and cultural context of Indian poetry in English reveals several important insights into its origin. So from this sentence, I know that the topic is Indian poetry in English. But what does it say after that? It says that it began in Bengal. Why did it begin in Bengal? Because that is where the British first gained a stronghold. In addition, this poetry was a largely urban phenomenon centered in Calcutta. And then we have the blank. Whenever there's a blank in the middle, we need to ensure that it connects to the sentence before and after it. The sentence after the blank says, then gradually it moved to other urban centers. So what are we really trying to say here? We say that originally Indian poetry in English started in Bengal, specifically in Calcutta, and then from there it spread out to urban centers, other urban centers in India. So the theme here clearly is gradual spread of Indian poetry in English from Calcutta to other urban centers. Now the clue that we need to keep our focus on is this bit. Then gradually it moved to other urban centers. So transition words such as then are usually going to be pretty important clues. So before this, it was centered in Calcutta or Bengal and then it spread out. Let's keep this in mind. Let's take a look at option 1. Here it says, in fact. When we start with in fact, it means that I am trying to further reinforce a point I have made earlier, right? Poetry writing for the first 50 years was confined to a few families who were residents of Calcutta. So if I put this sentence in the blank, it fits rather well because it is reinforcing the idea that poetry was an urban phenomenon and it was centered in Calcutta. And that even within Calcutta, it was confined to a few families only. Right after this, it would make sense to say that gradually it moved to other urban centers. So let's keep this option. B says, the rulers encouraged the natives. Now, who are the rulers? We could assume that the rulers are the British. The rulers encouraged the natives to write poetry about India only if their mother tongue was English. Now, this is not really mentioned or referenced anywhere in the passage because the overall theme of the passage is how Indian poetry in English spread from Bengal to other areas. It doesn't really talk about any encouragement from the British or the prerequisites for writing such poetry. So we should be able to eliminate B. Now option C says, again, very similar, the British had decided that poetry about India could reach a larger audience if written in Calcutta. But this does not really allow for that gradual transition to other urban centers. Also, nowhere in the paragraph does it say that there was a British agenda to such poetry. So we should be able to eliminate C as well. D says English was seen as an elite language and so the British felt that only they could use it for poetry. But the passage talks about Indian poetry in English, which means that Indians were writing such poetry. So D does not really go or coincide with the theme. Let's eliminate D. So our answer would have to be the first option. Again, though it seems like we should have just selected the first option and moved on with it, it is always a good idea to quickly skim through the others and make sure that they are not better than the option that you have selected. But as I said, fairly simple question if you understand the transition or the flow of thought.